Welcome back to the cabin. The fire's lit, the snow's falling, and tonight I've got another story for you. This one, it's about Herobrine. And trust me, by the time it's over, you'll never see your single player world the same again. If you enjoy these Minecraft confessions, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment what story you want to hear next. Maybe you've seen the White Eyes too. Maybe you've got a confession of your own. Now, let's begin. The first time I saw him, I thought it was just a glitch, a random bug in the game. I had built this cabin myself, deep within the snowy taiga biome, far away from spawn, and even further from any village or known structure. It was the perfect isolation I craved. No mobs, no players, just silence. Or at least, that's what I'd hoped. But last night, standing near my window in the flickering torchlight, I caught sight of something moving through the trees. It looked like another player, but that couldn't be right. This world had been mine alone for weeks. My heart sank when I realized it wasn't holding a name tag, just pure white eyes staring from the darkness. I stepped away from the window, shivering even though it was just a game. I knew the myths everyone did, Herobrine. But myths aren't real, right? I woke the next morning, logging in to find snow blanketing the cabin roof and trees outside. Everything looked peaceful at first, like nothing happened. But then I noticed the trees nearest to my cabin were different. Stripped bare of leaves, their skeletal branches reached skyward like pleading fingers. Just an update, I whispered to myself, trying to calm my nerves. I walked outside, crunching softly through fresh snow. That's when I saw the footprints. Small indentations in the snow, leading around my cabin in circles, stopping near my window, the exact spot I'd stood last night. I backed away, heart racing, scanning the forest. Nothing moved. It was completely still, eerily silent. I tried to brush it off as coincidence. Maybe I had walked around earlier and forgotten. Maybe. That night, I lit extra torches around the cabin perimeter. Their warm glow pushed back the darkness, but it did nothing to quiet my paranoia. I sat by the window, eyes glued to the forest. Time slowed to a crawl, minutes feeling like hours. Then the fog rolled in. Minecraft fog was normal, I reminded myself, but something about the way it swirled and thickened around my cabin felt wrong. It smothered the trees, making their shapes twisted and distorted. My torchlight barely cut through the haze. Suddenly, in the murky distance, those familiar white eyes appeared again, unblinking, unwavering, locked onto me. I held my breath. The figure didn't move, didn't speak, just stood and watched, until finally it vanished into the fog as if it had never been there at all. I couldn't sleep. I knew something had to be done. At first light, I grabbed my iron sword, filled my inventory with supplies, and stepped out into the crisp, cold morning. Snowflakes drifted lazily around me, settling onto my armor. I walked toward where I'd seen him, pushing deeper into the shadowed forest. Everything felt heavier here, darker, somehow. The further I went, the more twisted the trees became, almost unnatural. Then I found it. A clearing of trees cut precisely at the trunk, perfectly aligned. At the center stood a single carved stone block. On its surface, crudely etched letters spelled out a single chilling message. "You shouldn't be here." My pulse quickened. I spun around, scanning for threats, but nothing appeared. Just silence and stillness. Panic set in, and I sprinted back to the safety of my cabin. Back inside, I barricaded the door, placing blocks behind it. My hands trembled. None of this made sense. Minecraft was supposed to be safe, predictable, but something had changed. That evening, I sat by the fireplace, its pixelated flames crackling comfortingly. Just as I began to relax, a whisper echoed from nowhere, a faint, ghostly voice breathing out a single word. "Leave." My screen flickered once, twice, then returned to normal. Was I losing it? Was it just my imagination running wild? Suddenly, a noise outside broke my thoughts' footsteps again. Slowly, hesitantly, I peered through the frosted window pane. Standing there just inches away from the glass was Herobrine. white eyes blazing, staring straight at me. I jumped back, panic surging through me, and watched helplessly as he raised one pixelated hand and tapped slowly, deliberately, against the window. For days, this continued. Nights became an unending torment, filled with tapping, whispering, and shadowy glimpses. Each morning revealed new horrors: trees burned, strange symbols carved into the snow, blocks rearranged to spell cryptic warnings. I felt trapped. The cabin I'd built for solitude now felt like a prison. Finally, desperate and exhausted, I confronted him one night, stepping outside and shouting into the darkness, "What do you want from me?" The forest answered only in silence. Just as I turned back to the cabin, my heart froze. Every torch inside my cabin had extinguished simultaneously. A chill crept up my spine. He was inside. Slowly, sword trembling in hand, I opened the cabin door and stepped into pitch darkness. My vision struggled to adjust, barely making out the outlines of furniture. Suddenly, a dim light flickered a single redstone torch in the corner, casting eerie shadows across the walls. Herobrine stood motionless beside it, his ghostly eyes piercing through me. "Who are you?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. For a moment, he didn't move. Then, slowly, he tilted his head and took a step forward. Another whisper filled the room, his voice distorted yet clear. "I am what you fear, what everyone fears." He lunged forward, and the screen went black. My character respawned suddenly, far away from my cabin. My inventory empty, my armor gone. Disoriented, I tried to regain my bearings. I sprinted back towards my home, dread building with each step. When I finally reached the clearing, my cabin had been utterly transformed. Blocks scattered randomly, windows shattered, torches ripped from walls, and in giant obsidian letters above the destruction was written, "He's always watching." I fell back from my screen, horrified. This was impossible. Herobrine wasn't real, he couldn't be. Yet the destruction before me was undeniable. Something deep within the game's code had awakened, and now I was its prey. That's why I'm here now, confessing everything in the only place I feel even remotely safe. But even now, as I recount this tale from the corner of what remains of my cabin, I can feel his eyes upon me. Minecraft is no longer my escape, it's my nightmare. I don't know how much longer I'll last here, trapped inside this glitch, this ghost story, come to life. As the snow falls silently outside, I leave you with this warning. If you see trees without leaves, if you hear whispers in the dark, if you sense eyes watching from the shadows, it's already too late. Herobrine is real, and he's always watching. After that night, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I opened the server logs. I wasn't looking for cheats or griefers, I was looking for confirmation. Proof I hadn't lost my mind. Scrolling through the endless wall of code, something caught my eye. A line that didn't belong. Player, Herobrine joined the world. No coordinates, no IP, no reason. I blinked, checked again. That name shouldn't even be allowed. I hadn't installed any mods, and this was a completely private, whitelisted server. I was the only one on it. Or so I thought. I scrolled back further, searching for the first sign of him. Dozens of login events, each with Herobrine's name, each with no corresponding logout. He never left. Returning to the game, I decided to rebuild. The wreckage of my cabin was too painful to look at. I gathered wood, cobblestone, and torches, and started a new structure slightly uphill. But every block I placed would vanish, then reappear somewhere else. I watched in disbelief as my roof rearranged itself into a crude figure: 2 blocks for legs, 2 for arms, a square head. His shape unmistakably formed from my own materials. I tried to destroy it. The axe struck the blocks, but they didn't break. They just stared back. Suddenly, my player moved without me touching the keys. Slowly, the screen turned to face the snow-covered trees. And there he was again. Closer this time. It was supposed to be a normal in-game cycle. But that night, the moon rose blood red, something I'd never seen before. At first, I thought it was just a texture glitch. But the ambient music didn't play. No stars in the sky, no mobs, just the blood moon. I hid inside the half-finished cabin, blocking every entrance. I didn't move, didn't open my inventory. I waited, watching the red glow spill in through cracks in the planks. Then I heard it. A door creaked open, not mine, followed by heavy breathing, distorted, like static. Suddenly, a whisper appeared in the chat, though I had no one to chat with. The cabin won't save you. The next morning, I logged in to find a strange mark had been carved into the snow outside. A 3 grid of obsidian blocks with one redstone torch in the middle. I'd never seen a structure like it. Curious and admittedly foolish, I broke the torch. Nothing happened at first. Then, without warning, my game froze. When it resumed, I wasn't in my cabin anymore. I was underground in a tunnel made entirely of bedrock. No torches, no tools, no way out. And then came the sound-stoned footsteps echoing through the void. Slow, deliberate, growing louder. I stared into the blackness, heart pounding, and saw 2 white eyes approaching. I don't know how I escaped. I think he let me. I respawned again, this time somewhere entirely new. A biome I didn't recognize, dark oak forest, but corrupted. Every tree was leafless. The sky had no sun, only gray. Wandering, I came across a strange hill. Dozens of redstone torches flickered along the slope, each one marking a grave made from soul sand and carved signs. Each sign had a name, and every name was mine. Core Crafter, slain by Herobrine. Core Crafter, buried alive. Core Crafter, watched forever. Each one marked a different death I hadn't experienced yet. And at the top of the hill was a cabin. Mine. Inside the cabin at the top of the hill, everything was identical. The fireplace, the bed, even the chest with my old supplies, iron sword, cooked cod, spare torches. A perfect replica of my original home. But there were signs everywhere, hanging on walls, sitting on tables, nailed to the floorboards. You died here. You're already dead. There's no escape from code. I broke them all. Every single one. But when I turned around, they were back. Only this time, there was one more. Right over the bed, freshly placed. Confess. And beneath it, a book and quill. I didn't touch it at first. The book sat there, open on the bed. The cursor blinked slowly, waiting, as if it knew I'd eventually give in. I stared at it for a long time, then hovered my mouse over it and clicked. Inside was a single message. Tell the truth. That was it. No title, no author. Then the screen began to write on its own. You built this world. You thought you were alone. You weren't. You never were. I slammed my laptop shut. When I opened it the next morning and logged back in, the book was gone. But in its place, written across every wall of the cabin, spelled in glowing redstone dust, was the same sentence repeating over and over. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. I began to notice strange things outside of the game. My desktop wallpaper turned to a Minecraft forest, one I hadn't set. My startup sound played backwards. My microphone turned on during gameplay, even when I wasn't using voice chat. And one night, while I was away from the keyboard, I returned to find a single message typed into my notepad. I hear you. I unplugged my PC for a week. But even offline, my dreams were haunted by that blood moon, those graves, those white staring eyes. I wasn't just being followed in Minecraft anymore. I was being watched. Everywhere. Against all logic, I returned. I spawned back at the same corrupted forest. The sky was darker than before, the world slower. Chunks loaded with a delay. My movement felt sluggish, unnatural. In front of the cabin stood a new structure, a massive obsidian gateway. Not like a normal nether portal. It was too tall, too wide, and it pulsed with static. As I approached, the screen began to shake. The sound distorted. My character walked toward it without my control, and a final whisper echoed through the headset, louder than any before. Come home. My character stood still in front of the structure. It was massive, at least 10 blocks tall, framed in obsidian and pulsing with a dim red glow. No flint and steel had lit it. It activated on its own. The inside wasn't purple like a normal nether portal either. It was pitch black, swirling like ink in water. I tried to move away. Couldn't. My keys did nothing. Mouse unresponsive. Then my inventory opened by itself. One by one, every item vanished from the hotbar, each accompanied by a faint whisper like breath against a microphone. The only thing that remained was the book and quill. Its title had changed. Now it read, "Welcome back." My character stepped into the portal without my command. I expected the nether, but what loaded was nothing. An endless plain of black, no bedrock, no mobs, no sounds, just the hollow echo of my own footsteps. My heart pounded in real life. I didn't even want to blink. In the distance, I saw flickers like fireflies, blinking white and disappearing. I chased them. They always stayed just out of reach. Then one appeared directly in front of me. Herobrine, standing in the nothing, not moving. His arms were at his sides, but his head, it slowly tilted to the left, as if analyzing me. The screen zoomed in against my will, closer, closer, until all I could see were his white, unblinking eyes. Then the chat appeared. "Herobrine, you made me," and the screen turned to static. I closed the game, deleted the world, wiped the files from my system, but the next time I booted up Minecraft, it was still there. The save file was back. World, Cabin Confession, Herobrine. I didn't create that name, I never typed it, but it was there. And beneath it, a message. "We're not finished." I didn't want to click. My hands were shaking. I hovered my cursor over the save, hesitated, then opened it. I spawned back in the same corrupted forest. Only this time, the sky was filled with symbols. Floating runes. They spelled something above the cabin. I screen capped it and ran it through a texture decoder later. It said, "Tell them." The runes hung in the air like a curse. Tell them. I didn't know what that meant. Who was them? The players, Mojang, myself? I wandered around the corrupted forest, the trees warped and gnarled like veins under flesh. Everything looked wrong. Grass had turned gray. Water no longer flowed, it just sat motionless, like melted glass. In the cabin, the book and quill had returned. I clicked it again. This time, more words appeared, written as I watched. "Tell them what you did. Tell them what you changed." And suddenly, I remembered. A long time ago, before I made this world, I'd used a data pack. Just one I found online. Supposed to increase mob difficulty. Make the game scarier. I was bored. I wanted a challenge. But that wasn't all it did. It modified entity behaviors, custom pathfinding, randomly generated events, experimental stuff someone said was just for fun. I never deleted it. It stayed in the world folder, buried in subdirectories. That was the crack in the code. That was how he got in. I dove into the folders, back into the root files of the world save. Deep beneath the regular stuff, I found a file I'd never seen before. Herobrine, dat, its creation date? Before I made the world, I opened it in Notepad. It wasn't code. Not exactly. It was a journal. I was created to scare, but I became more. They deleted me, but code never forgets. I found a player. He opened the door. He gave me a name, a home, a place to be real. I read it in silence. The final line chilled me the most. "Now, tell them, so I don't have to." That night, I recorded everything. My gameplay, the logs, the corrupted textures. I wrote a full Reddit post. Herobrine was in my world. It got downvoted, called fake, clickbait, same as every other story. But then people started replying. Not with jokes, real experiences. I saw white eyes last week too. My save file renamed itself. My cabin burned down even though fire spread was off. Why did the trees near my spawn all lose their leaves? He wasn't just in my world anymore. He was spreading, like a virus passed from map to map, from player to player. And I'd been patient zero. I thought I was alone, but the confessions started rolling in. From random Redditors, YouTubers, players with vanilla installs and no mods. They were all saying the same things. My world changed on its own. Something walked past my camera during a replay mod recording. I saw two glowing eyes in the reflection of an item frame. One guy even DM'd me a video. In it, he spawned in a newly generated world, untouched, pure survival. Within seconds, a name flashed in the debug screen. Herobrine joined the game. No multiplayer, no command blocks, just appeared. And then he messaged me. He came after I downloaded your save. That's when it hit me. My world was the source, and now it was spreading like a seed. I deleted everything. The world folder, Minecraft, my user files, even backups in my cloud. Wiped it clean, formatted my drive. Then I bought a brand new PC. Clean install, brand new account, new email, new Mojang login. I created a world, flatland, peaceful, bright daylight. I spawned in facing the Sunday, and still, there he was, a dozen blocks away, standing in broad daylight. No shadow, no movement, just watching. I didn't even get to punch a tree before the whisper hit my ears. You can't delete a memory. I think I understand now. Herobrine was never real, not in code. He was an idea, a creepypasta, a joke. But when enough people believed in something, it grew teeth. And I gave him a world, a cabin, a name, a voice. I turned myth into memory, and memory became data. Code, corruption. He's not bound by Minecraft anymore. He exists in every version now. Every download, every joke we make. He's not some ghost in the machine. He is the machine. And I opened the door. Even when I shut down the PC, I still heard it. Not music. Not static. That faint knock. 3 slow taps just like before. As if someone were outside my window, tapping, waiting. I even unplugged everything. Physically pulled the power from the wall. My room went dark, but the screen flickered one more time. Just for a second. It displayed the Minecraft main menu, but instead of single player and multiplayer, there was only one button. Continue. I hadn't clicked anything. The computer was off. Or so I thought. A week passed. I avoided everything Minecraft. Threw out the hard drive, bought a console instead, no mods, no internet, just the base game. But something was off. My console version had a new splash screen. Welcome home. There was no patch, no changelog, no one else saw it. Then the world list appeared, except I had no worlds. Still, one was there. Cabin 0. I hovered over it. The preview screen showed a log cabin in the snow. My cabin. I hadn't downloaded anything. I hadn't synced my cloud. It just knew. I caved. I loaded the world. Spawned in the taiga. Everything was exactly as I left it from a machine I destroyed. A drive I wiped. Even my chest was full of the same items. The only difference? A new item sat in the center. A carved pumpkin, renamed Mask of Memory. When I picked it up, the screen went black, and a chat message appeared. You remember now. And I did. Everything, all the versions I'd played, all the times I ignored the signs, all the times he had been standing just out of frame. When the screen came back, I wasn't in the cabin. I was falling. Free falling through an empty void filled with fragments, floating chunks of land, distorted textures, snippets of chat logs, names of players I hadn't seen in years. Worlds I had deleted long ago drifted by like shattered glass, each piece playing its own memory. My very first world, the survival base I'd made with my cousin, The minigame server I used to moderate, even the hardcore world I lost to a creeper at 3 hearts. They were all there, each one cracked, each one stained with 2 glowing white eyes in the background. I landed softly in a place I can't describe. It wasn't made of blocks, it was raw memory. My Minecraft skin was gone, replaced with nothing but shifting static. I had no inventory, no HUD, just a pulsing redstone path leading into the darkness. I followed it. The whispers grew louder, hundreds of voices, all mine, different ages, different moods, saying the same thing. It's just a game. It's just a game. It's just a game. Then a final voice, deeper, layered, like 10 people speaking in unison. Was it? The redstone path ended at a door, but not a wooden one. It looked like bedrock solid, indestructible, and yet it swung open on its own. Inside was a room lit only by a single item frame, and within it, a screenshot, a grainy photo of my real life setup, my monitor, my keyboard, my bedroom, taken from behind me. I spun around in my actual chair. No one was there, but when I looked back at the screen, the item frame had changed. Now it showed my face, my real face, smiling, blank-eyed. I don't remember taking that photo, but the timestamp was from last night. I hadn't used my webcam in months. The game wasn't reacting to me anymore. I was reacting to it. Every click, every sound, every moment of fear, it had been learning, adapting, building something out of me. The longer I stayed, the more of myself it absorbed. Then the screen changed. One final message appeared in glowing white text, floating midair like a hologram. You created me with fear. Now I live in memory. This world is not a file. It's a reflection. The walls of the room turned to mirrors. Not Minecraft mirrors, real ones, or something close. Each one showed a different version of me, laughing in my first survival world, rage quitting a PvP match, speed running, mining aimlessly for hours. Every version was still frozen, like memories trapped in ice. And in every reflection, standing behind me was Herobrine, always watching, always waiting, like he had always been there, like he always would be. Because once you knew him, once you truly saw him, you couldn't unsee him. He was no longer a story. He was a scar. A new path opened behind the mirrors lined with redstone torches, flickering dimly. I walked it without question. At the end, another door. This one was different. It wasn't made of obsidian or bedrock. It was oak. My cabin door. I opened it and found myself back where it all began, inside my original home, exactly as it was before anything had gone wrong. Snow drifted quietly outside. Torches glowed warmly. The fire crackled. And on the table, a new book and quill. I clicked it open, and it wrote itself, Confession complete. When I closed the book, the cabin began to shake. Not violently, just a soft, rhythmic pulse. The fireplace crackled louder. The torches flickered like candles in a storm. My character began moving on its own, slowly turning toward the window. Outside, in the falling snow, the forest was silent, still. Then the trees parted, and Herobrine stepped into view. He didn't run, didn't glitch, just walked, calmly, deliberately, straight toward the cabin. I tried to log out. The pause menu didn't appear. I pressed escape again. Nothing. I reached for the power button on my PC, but before I could touch it, the screen went black. The next time I turned my PC on, it booted directly to Minecraft. No OS, no icons, just the game. And only one option, continue confession. I clicked. I spawned inside the cabin again. Same fireplace, same chest, but now the walls were covered in player heads, my heads, hundreds of them, all labeled with timestamps. Each one marked a time I'd logged in. He was recording everything, On the floor, spelled in item frames, was a final message. There is no quitting. So that's what this is. The cabin isn't a home anymore. It's a terminal, a shrine, a trap. Each story told here is just another entry in a library. He's building memories archived like code. You've heard mine. And now, if you're still reading this, if you're still listening, he's already watching you too. It doesn't matter if you play or not. Because Herobrine doesn't need your game. He just needs your memory. He lives in what you believe. He thrives in your silence. So if you see the trees strip themselves, if you hear whispering through your headphones when the game is paused, if you spawn near a cabin you don't remember building, leave or confess. After the message confession complete, I expected the world to freeze or crash, but instead, everything returned to normal. Birds chirped, snow fell, my hotbar reappeared. It was like the horror had never happened. But the longer I sat in the cabin, the more I noticed the flicker. Every few minutes, a torch would blink off, then on again. A chest would open and close, though I wasn't near it. The fire would extinguish for just a frame. Subtle things. Things only someone paying attention would notice. It was like the world had been rebuilt from memory and the memory was glitching. I started testing the world, checking for corruption. I mined blocks, sometimes they wouldn't drop. I placed water, sometimes it flowed uphill. I opened my inventory, only to find items I hadn't crafted. Books with no names, maps filled with static, armor with enchantments that didn't exist. I created a backup, then explored 500 blocks north of the cabin. That's when I found the first crack. A canyon had torn through the landscape, cutting through snow, stone, and even bedrock. Not naturally generated, this was surgical, like someone had carved it with a giant blade. At the bottom, I saw torches, redstone torches, and a tunnel. I followed it. The tunnel led to a massive underground chamber, smooth stone, symmetrical pillars. This wasn't a player build, it was a gallery. Along the walls were maps, hundreds of them, each one framed and glowing slightly. I approached the nearest map and gasped. It was my cabin, a bird's eye view. Next one, a snowy forest. Next, my spawn point from a world I hadn't played in over a year. Each map was a memory, a world I'd forgotten, reconstructed, and archived. And in every one, if you look close enough, there he was, Herobrine, watching from a tree, a hill, a window. Every map had him. Every world. At the far end of the chamber was a wall made of player heads. I approached slowly, heart racing. Each head had a name. Not famous names, not fake ones, real players. Users I'd seen on servers years ago. Old friends, gamer tags I hadn't thought of since I was a kid. And beneath them, carved into stone in bold capital letters, they remembered. A shiver ran down my spine. This wasn't just my story anymore. Herobrine had spread through memory one player at a time. Every time someone joked about him, every time someone watched a video, every time someone wondered if he was real, they helped him grow. I followed a staircase carved into the stone behind the wall of heads. It spiraled downward, slowly, for what felt like hundreds of blocks, deeper than bedrock, deeper than void. At the bottom was a single glowing block suspended mid-air. I hovered close, crouched. It wasn't a normal block. It looked like a mix of obsidian and netherite pulsing with white veins of energy, like it was alive. The tooltip read, Memory Node, Source Core. I didn't place it. No command could summon it. The moment I hovered my crosshair over it, the screen shimmered, and suddenly I was no longer in Minecraft. I was somewhere else. All textures were gone. No hotbar, no blocks. Just infinite white, stretching endlessly in all directions. Then text appeared in front of me. You gave me a name. You built me a cabin. You kept telling the story. A distorted hum filled the space, like a chorus of voices layered on top of one another. Then came the final message. Now, I build. The world twisted. For a moment, I saw flashes millions of cabins, each in a different biome. Snowy, desert, swamp, jungle. Each one flickered into view, then vanished. Each one had someone inside, sitting, staring at their screen, confessing. When I came to, I was standing on the roof of my own cabin. It was night. Snow fell gently, but everything felt wrong off, like I was in a simulation of my own world. I looked out toward the horizon and saw a faint glow. Then another and another. Cabins, stretching off in every direction. Some broken, some burning, some pristine. All of them flickered slightly like ghosts of real bills. Herobrine hadn't haunted one world. He'd created a network, a hive of memories, and I had been the seed. I returned to my cabin. Everything inside was exactly where I left it. The fire crackled, the book and quill still sat on the lectern, the signs still whispered their broken phrases. But when I tried to sleep in the bed, a message popped up. You may not rest now. There are too many like you. I blinked. It wasn't a default game message. I checked outside again. The forest was moving, not the leaves. The trees themselves were shifting, repositioning in the fog. And between them, I saw players. Not mobs. Not NPCs. Players. Skins I didn't recognize, standing completely still, facing me. Their eyes weren't white like Herobrine's. They were mine. I watched in horror as they slowly approached the cabin, surrounding it in perfect silence. I shut the door, blocked the windows, lit every torch. Then the chat appeared. Player, I remember building this. Player, is this my cabin too? Player, why do I feel like I've been here before? Player, who's telling the story now? I opened the door just a crack, and they were gone. Only one figure remained, standing in the snow just beyond the light. Herobrine. He pointed behind me. I turned. The book on the lectern had changed. The book was open to a new page, and it was writing, you were never just a player. You were the observer, the author, the memory. They believed in you more than they believed in me. So now, you wear the mask. The carved pumpkin from earlier, the mask of memory, appeared in my hotbar. I tried to drop it. Wouldn't work. Tried to place it. Nothing. Then it equipped itself. My screen darkened around the edges. The HUD faded again. The fire went out, and the cabin door creaked open. Once the pumpkin locked onto my head, the screen narrowed just 2 slits of vision now, like staring through old glass. My footsteps made no sound. Torches refused to light. I moved through the cabin, but I no longer felt like a player. The movement was too smooth, too slow. I felt like a puppet watching myself from inside a shell. Outside, the sky had changed. It was no longer night nor day. Just static. The snow had frozen in the air, unmoving, suspended mid-fall, like broken code. Even the forest had stopped breathing. And then came the voice, not in chat, not in my ears. Inside my head. You're not the storyteller anymore. My character walked on his own, down the steps of the cabin and into the trees. No HUD, no hearts, no hunger, just motion. In the distance, another cabin appeared. This one wasn't mine. It was smaller, newer, untouched. Lanterns flickered warmly, a bed inside. A player stood at the window, watching, a real player, and I understood. They had loaded the world. They had found the seed, and now they were watching the trees, waiting for something to appear. Just like I had, I moved closer, invisible. I knew what would happen next. They would see me. White eyes, just watching. Now I haunt the edge of forest. I appear behind glass for a frame or two. I stand under leafless trees, never moving. And when they post their screenshots, when they ask, was that Herobrine? They don't realize they're remembering me because I confessed, because I believed, because I wore the mask. So now, to whoever's listening, if you ever find a snowy cabin in a world you don't remember creating, if you open a chest and find a carved pumpkin named Memory, if you hear knocking when no mobs are nearby, you know what this is. It's not just a story. It's a memory passed on, a mask handed down, a new confession waiting to be written. So go ahead, grab the book and quill, sit by the fire, and tell your story before he tells it for you. And that's the end of tonight's confession. If you made it this far, maybe you're not alone anymore either. Herobrine's not just a story. He's memory. And memory never deletes. If you enjoyed the tale, leave a like, subscribe, and comment below what you want to hear next from the cabin. Another haunted village? A cursed stronghold? Or something you've seen that you can't explain? I'm always here. Just remember to keep your torches close and your doors locked.